Hello and welcome back to India on 99.94 with me, your host, Nikesh Ragani, and Sarah Waris alongside of Wisdom as always. And Sarah, there's no better place to start really this episode than the man, the myth, the legend, the king, the goat, whatever you want to call him. There's so many descriptions of the great Virat Kohli, but we've both got smiles on our faces. We've been wanting this to happen for such a long time. And I'm guessing you had a pretty good Sunday after that, 166.
You won't believe it, but I actually ended up ordering. I was so happy, just the fact that he's back in form. I ended up ordering a cake with which said Kohli the goat. So and my parents were like, "Why are you calling him like a bakra? Like why is he a goat?" Obviously, they are not into sports as much, and they don't know that greatest of all time. They
Yeah.
ate the cake, but they were like, "I don't know why you're calling him like a goat." So then I explained it to them, and it
Well,
was just like, yeah.
where do we start with that? Oh my God. So you actually ordered a customized cake for Virat Kohli. Obviously, he doesn't eat cake, or probably very
Yeah.
rarely, he might have a little bit of the cream on top once every 3 years or something. But so you ate it in his honor, I suppose. He couldn't eat the cake
Yeah.
himself. You ate it in his honor. Did you do the whole Indian team thing where they sort of get a bit of it and put it all over your face and
I find that a wastage. So it's if it's cake, you eat it. That's
yes,
a wastage. Yeah.
waste of good cake, waste of wow. I'm sure you probably weren't the only one. I mean, I'm sure people celebrated in all sorts of different weird and wonderful ways. Some people may have treated themselves out to dinner or something, or may have had a extra, if they drink alcohol, they may have had a couple of beers to celebrate. I'm sure there were many millions and millions of smiling faces all across India, and it's not just that 100, is it? Sorry, it's not just the
Mm.
166. It's the 2 in 3 matches. It's the form that he's been getting into since the Asia Cup and that 100 against Afghanistan, and everyone's saying, oh, it's only Afghanistan. Yeah, it's the only Afghanistan who beat Sri Lanka and took Pakistan to the wire. Probably should have beaten Pakistan as well. So a very strong Afghanistan side when they turn up and when they decide to turn up. But that was
Hmm.
Curly's day, and that sort of kick-started everything. The T20 World Cup, he was brilliant. That innings against Pakistan, and these ODI hundreds now, 46 ODI hundreds, just three off the man they used to call the GOAT, Sachin Tendulkar. Probably still in a lot of people's opinions, still is. I don't like to compare across eras. He was the
Hmm.
best by, far in his era, or eras, I suppose. He played for so long. And Kohli's the greatest in this. And it's Kohli's greatest format as well, isn't it? ODIs is where, I mean, he's a great all format batter, but ODIs is where he is the absolute king, and he's now showing once again why. It doesn't matter if it's Sri Lanka, doesn't matter if it was Australia, whoever he's playing against. He just this is the form that we're so used to seeing him in
Yeah.
for the last decade or more.
Yeah, and there was a tweet yesterday which I saw that hundreds are becoming boring now. You spoke about 2 in 3 matches. He scored one against Bangladesh also. So it's 3 in 4 matches actually. So hundreds are becoming boring now, and that's Kohli. That's Kohli's era, and uh, probably more than all these stats and all is just like what he does to a cricket fan. I've heard of tales of how Sachin just united the whole country into watching cricket, and he just became the god, and all those terms which were given to him. I started watching cricket very late, and probably I needed someone who could just get me into the sport and just suck me into this whole world of cricket. Yeah, Dhoni was there. I was a huge Dhoni fan, but then in Test cricket, not so much. Uh, and India just needed an all format batter like Sachin Tendulkar. There were the Dravids and the Kumbles and all, but they were better at one format, not the other. You could say that. And someone like Sachin, obviously, I'm not comparing, I'm just trying to make sense of how it could have been because I never watched cricket in that era. So I needed someone like a Kohli to get me into this field and sports. And it almost coincided with, like, I started watching cricket to 2007, early 2008, and that was the time when Kohli won the under 19 World Cup, and there were news that okay, he's Kohli and this is what he can do and all that. And then he scored 100 at Eden Gardens. And obviously, yeah, for me, Eden Gardens, I used to go there frequently as a child, so it was even more special that wow, his first 100 is at Eden Gardens and all that. So it's just how he got you back into the sport. Like, there were so many people who are like, I'm not going to watch cricket once Sachin Tendulkar retires, because he was that kind of a figure to them, that you couldn't associate cricket with anyone else other than Sachin. And then
That's me.
suddenly,
That's
yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
Obviously I was going to watch cricket, but there was a part of me, a part of
Hmm.
my sort of cricketing insides which died really when Sachin retired, and it was emotional. And you're right, Kohli has filled that void for so many people. And I suppose when you look at the different eras of Indian cricket, it was, let's talk about the eras that sort of I grew up in. So there was the Sourav Ganguly captains. Let's talk about the captains, and we're talking about Kohli, the captain and the player in this. So Sourav taught India how to fight, right? That was the old saying. He taught them how to fight and compete when they went abroad and against the bigger sides. Dhoni taught them how to win, and I suppose Kohli taught them how to dominate, really, particularly in Test cricket, but also just as a player, just absolute domination. And look, I said it yesterday, this is the year of the goat, isn't it? Forget the Chinese calendar or whatever it is. In our calendar here on 99.94, this is the year of the goat, and there's only one man's picture up on that calendar all 12 months of the year, we hope, and it's Virat Kohli, and it looks ominous, doesn't it? And it's a World Cup year as well, even better.
Yeah, okay, I'm not jinxing, but I have a bad habit of that. But yeah, it's just at this point it's like we have no expectations, because probably 2022 that phase, when hundreds were just stopped, and we were like, okay, is this the end? Like, who is the next all format superstar? And right now, looking at it, do you have an all format superstar in mind? Or there will be Pant, but then not as effective in white ball cricket. You could say there's Surya Kumar Yadav, but not as effective in the other formats. KL Rahul, yeah, okay. And so is there an all format superstar?
Prithvi
There is
Shaw
Gill.
he's the heir apparent. Prithvi Shaw is the
Yeah.
heir apparent. You mark my words. He's just quickly. I know we're talking about the Sri Lanka series, but it's great to see him included in the upcoming T20I
Mm.
squad for that series against New Zealand. And it's about time. And I think that's going to kickstart him, because he is an all format superstar, isn't he? I mean, he scored what, 379 the other day for Mumbai. You could say what you like about the Ranji Trophy, but that is the record for Mumbai. Not many people score over 350 in an innings, and he's gone and broken Sanjay Manjrekar's record, which stood for a very long time, really, since the 90s or whenever it was, the early 90s, 91 I think it was, when Manjrekar got 377. So he got 100 on Test debut. He's the heir apparent. But he's not been in and around the teams of late. So, look, Kohli's got years left in him. And I suppose one other heir apparent, certainly in ODIs and in tests, is Shubman Gill, who, another 100 for him in ODI cricket, half century in the first game, a solid knock in the second. He's looking the business now. And there was a lot of discussion, wasn't there, about should it be him? Should it be Ishan Kishan? How can you drop a guy that's got a double century in his last ODI? Kishan has played other white ball cricket since that ODI. He's played in the T20 series. He's not quite found his form there. But Shubman Gill, for what he's done over such a long period of time now, over the last couple of years in ODI cricket, I think he deserved that opportunity. Rohit explained it nicely, I thought, at the press conference before the series began when that question came up. And look, he's been proven right.
Hmm.
Shubman Gill delivering once again.
Yeah, and what was more encouraging was the fact that this management, they decided to leave Shikhar Dhawan out and give Shubman Gill a longer chance. Uh, Considering how BCCI has worked in the past, how Indian cricket has worked in the past, it's always giving preference to the senior players, the experienced players, especially in a World Cup. Yeah, and considering the fact that Shikhar Dhawan is Mr. ICC and all that, so that was an impressive step for me, possibly the first good selection under Chetan Sharma. I would think that, a positive step was the selection of Shubman Gill over Shikhar Dhawan, because realistically only one was going to play. And the fact that they've backed Shubman Gill, giving him the entire year to play out and then find his groove and everything, plus the fact that he's good against spin. Yeah, you can say he's not experienced, he's not played an ICC event in the past. The only event he played was the 2018 under 19 World Cup. But if you can give him a longer rope, plus the World Cup is at home, and he is very good against spin also. So I'm just glad that he's there. And the fact that yesterday, he backed with Virat Kohli while he got his 100. Virat Kohli and Shubman Gill seem to share a very close bond. We've seen on the Instagram posts and all, he's talking about his watches, and he keeps asking where you got those watches from and everything. So I think Shubman Gill, this is his best format. Not really keen on having him in T20I, strike rate of 119 odd or something. So, but yeah, that's talk for another episode. But happy that he's there in the ODI setup.
Yeah, and Ishan Kishan, look, is a great backup to have, right? It's a great man to have as a backup opener in this current setup. And look, he'll get his opportunity when the time comes, and I'm sure it will. But at the moment, he's probably more suited to T20Is, even though he hasn't been consistently performing. But that's more his game maybe for now, and he'll get his opportunity in the 50-over format as well. And talking of depth, another area is the bowling. The bowling depth now all of a sudden looks very healthy with a couple of new selections, Umran Malik and the like, and Siraj getting a consistent run in white ball cricket now. And we'll discuss all that after we take a short break.
You're listening to Cricket's Conversation on 99.94. Whatever your team, we have the show for you on podcast, YouTube, or on the 99.94 app. We have India, England, South Africa, West Indies, and now Sri Lanka covered. If you want to find us, the best way is to follow us on social media at 9994DM by downloading the 9994 app or Google 99.94 on podcast. We speak cricket.
So the bowling then, Sarah. I was particularly impressed with Mohammad Siraj, and not only the way he bowled, but the aggression he showed, the way he led the attack. In the absence of Jasprit Bumrah, we need a leader. Mohammad Shami is an experienced cricketer. He doesn't have the aura of a leader, though. He leads by example, certainly by the way he bowls, and he's been so consistent for so long in ODIs and in tests. But that real leader, that guy at the front of, when you're going into battle, and the guy just giving the battle cries, and it's like watching an Indian epic, isn't it? They're going to war. He's shouting the odds, but he's not just all mouth. He sort of walks the walk as well, so to speak, and he showed that with wickets in the power play, and yeah, exactly, like Kohli, and we know about the close relationship with those two as well. It's just brilliant to see this young man just is all action, really, and he's not effing and blinding all the time or anything like that. He's just all energy. The way he runs in, the way he celebrates, just everything about him. And he's bowling brilliantly at the moment.
Yeah. And second, I think it was in the second ODI where there was this poster by a young child. He was carrying this poster, "I'm here for Virat Kohli and Siraj." So, Harsha Bhogle was on commentary then, and he just gave. It was just a wonderful anecdote where he was describing the fact that, Siraj has now come up under Kohli, you could say, in RCB, and he was the one who backed him in Test cricket also. So now for Siraj really looks up to Kohli, and for someone to say, "I'm here for Kohli and Siraj," that must have meant the world to him. And he's not only just hard, he's just, his out swinger is back. He had a good in swinger, but in the series we saw his out swinger was back. With the new ball, he's very effective, I think. And what's more important is that his economy rate is excellent as well. First ODI, I think he was superb in the first ODI. He gave away, I don't remember the exact numbers, but very few in his first 5 overs. Don't really remember the numbers, but yeah, they were very good. He ended with 7 overs, 30 runs, 2 wickets, and overall ODI economy is 4.28, which is brilliant. Uh, and strike rate is 28, which means that he's going to pick up at least couple of wickets every innings. Yeah, you can say that he's played against the weaker, not weaker teams. He traveled to New Zealand and all that, but with the B team, so to say, you can say he played against West Indies and all these other countries. But then he has done well in test cricket, and if he's done well at test cricket in different conditions, there's no reason why he can't do well in ODIs also. And the team really seems to love him. That yesterday, after the press conference, during the press conference, he was asked something. He ended with 4 wickets. He was asked about his 5 wicket haul and how he missed it. So he was like, the team was very desperate that I get my 5 wickets, and that's why Rohit Sharma even got Shreyas Iyer to bowl,
Yep.
so that the batters don't give their wickets to other bowlers or something. And that's very encouraging. Even the trophy, in the end, Rohit Sharma handed it to Siraj and all, and that just shows the kind of energy he brings into the team, how he's loved also. And just one question for you: if Bumrah is fit, who are the I'm assuming they are going to go with three seamers for the World Cup. Who are going to be the three seamers? There's Shami, Siraj, Bumrah, Umran Malik on current form, and Arshdeep is waiting in the wings. So, uh, who are going to be the three seamers, you think? With Hardik
I'd
Pandya
probably
as
say, look, if Siraj
all-rounder.
is bowling like this and Siraj performs consistently, he has to play. Umran Malik gives you something different. I mean, you could argue that Bumrah and Siraj are the most sort of similar in terms of styles because they come from wide of the crease. I know Bumrah's a freak and he's just got, and you can't replicate his action, but if there was anybody who's even remotely similar, it's Siraj, wide of the crease, angled in always, the odd one nips away, similar pace, although Bumrah's a little bit quicker. It's more similar kind of style of bowling, whereas Shami, sort of traditional outswinger, low trajectory and all that kind of stuff. But I would probably say reluctantly Shami, because Umran Malik gives you that point of difference, doesn't he? And watch them drop Umran Malik now. After I've said that, but look, he's impressed me as well, and he's quick. We know about his pace. His consistency will come if he plays consistently, and that's the key. I think they need to give him this run. They need to just keep backing him. Yeah, he's been a little bit expensive, but fast bowlers generally are a little bit more expensive, but he's been picking up wickets. That's the crucial thing. It's not like he's been none for 80 or whatever off his 10 overs. He's been, 2 for 70, which is more respectable. And, there's been a couple of good innings by a couple of individuals in the Sri Lankan team who have sort of almost had nothing to lose at those particular times, like the century from Dasun Chanaka in a losing cause. They were going to get hammered. So he was playing so freely and decided to target a couple of the Indian bowlers, and it came off. So, on another day that could have been 3 for 60, and it just played out that way, right? But he's picking up wickets. He's quick. He's going to scare the shit out of a lot of batters around the world if he gets a little bit more consistent. And I think he has to play. So yeah, maybe Shami misses out. So definitely a couple of spinners in the side in that World Cup, with it being played in India. Kuldeep Yadav, I think, is he's nailing down his place at the moment. I think the way he's bowling, it's like Kuldeep Yadav from the 2019 World Cup all over again, isn't it? And that delivery as well, that one to Babar Azam that he bowled in that 2019 World Cup match, and then we saw a similar one yesterday as well.
Yeah. Yeah, what's been impressive is just his variation in pace. I think Irfan Pathan did a tweet about it, analyzing it, and he put up screenshots where he said that there's just been a slight tweak in his run up angle, and how he aligns his body before bowling, and that's making him bowl a little quicker, 4 to 5 kilometers quicker, and that's proven to be the difference, you could say. And it was baffling that he was dropped from the test team, but I hope he gets a consistent run in white ball cricket again, with Yuzvendra Chahal not doing that well, not impressing as much. He didn't play the last two ODIs. Kuldeep Yadav was preferred over him, so that's a good step. And yeah, again, Kuldeep Yadav on current form, I would have him in my 11 in for the World Cup, because Yuzvendra Chahal has had a longer rope, not been as effective. His numbers, he does well in one match, and then the other match he's not as lethal, not effective. Like, batters just play him out easily. In the middle overs with Kuldeep and now Umran Malik is excellent in the middle overs. So, just both of them bowling in the middle overs, with the option of having Hardik Pandya also coming in, and Shreyas Iyer now if you want. So yeah, India's bowling depth will be good enough, and hopefully the injuries stay away. That's like all my hope. Obviously there'll be Jadeja also who will come in, hopefully. So yeah, the bowling depth on paper right now looks settled. Just interesting to see how it goes in the next 10 months. Yeah.
Yeah, and look, in the 2011 World Cup as well, they mixed it up, didn't they? There were certain matches where, I know Nehra struggled with injuries, so he was in and out. Munaf Patel comes in, and Munaf Patel was brilliant, by the way, in that World Cup. Just couldn't score a run off him, but then the odd match, Ashwin came in, and then the odd match he sat out. So they did mix it up based on opposition and conditions and things like that. So they need that depth going into a World Cup like this, because there will be times when maybe all of them are needed at some point as well. Right, we'll take another short break here, and off the back of it, we'll discuss a little bit about what we've learnt, and maybe look ahead to the upcoming series, both the white ball stuff and the Border Gavaskar series squads named.
If you love the language of cricket and want more, then head over to the 99.94 app, and you can hear all of our podcasts and cricket commentary. We're adding new shows all the time and covering cricket series from all over the world. Be the first to hear all of our announcements by following us on social media at 9994DM. Welcome to Cricket's Conversation.
So, what have we learnt, Sarah? I'll throw something in there to start with, and we don't want to spend too much time on this, but Rohit Sharma isn't a fan of the run out of the non-strikers end when the opposition captain is on 98. Discuss.
Yeah, just bizarre. And he defended it by saying that we want to get him out in the way we wanted to get him out, like the proper way. And
he held himself back though. He
Yeah.
didn't want to say that
Yeah.
that's not how I want to play cricket. And look, there's two sides of the argument, aren't there? And he might be on the side where he doesn't consider that gentlemanly conduct or whatever, and doesn't want to have his sides do that. And that's fine. But, it's almost like throwing Ashwin under the bus, Dipti Sharma under the bus,
Exactly.
and anyone else. The young Pakistani girl who did it in the Under-19 World Cup yesterday. I mean, I sort of tweeted about that, and my Twitter's broken at the moment. It's like notifications coming out of my ears and my nose. Obviously, the people liking my tweet and commenting, most of them are in favour, but then I replied to a colleague of mine, Atif Nawaz, who is of Pakistani heritage, and he sort of said a bit of his heart breaks when this kind of thing happens. And that was the exchange, really, between him and I. And it was a bit tongue-in-cheek from us having that exchange. But it's so interesting. You got some people so extremely on one side, and some people... I'd say the people who are in favour of it are less extreme, because they're just like, yeah, it's part of the rules, whatever, what's wrong with it?
Yeah.
The people who are against it, and it's mainly people from England, by the way, which is staggering, because it's almost like a colonial hang-up, isn't it? This whole spirit of cricket and stuff. And we don't want to get too far into it, but Rohit, I don't know. Would it have been different if Kohli was the captain or KL Rahul was the captain? Do you think? Shami
Maybe it
wanted it.
would.
Shami
And
appealed.
yeah, Shami wanted it. If he didn't, then he wouldn't have, he would have warned him or whatever it is. He would have told him, stay in your crease like Mitchell Stark does. So, something of that sort. And Ashwin later on, he did a video on that and he spoke about the incident and he's like, again, I don't remember exactly what he said, but yeah, something on the lines that these are the laws. And if you're not teaching your players to play in the laws, then basically about the spirit of cricket just being just a term, and if you're not following the laws, then what is the spirit of cricket? So your won't your heart break if the batter is stealing few runs? Why is it such an issue? If that's fine, like batter is stealing runs, stealing a few extra yards, that's fine, but if a bowler is doing that, that's wrong. I again, I don't get that. And for me, if you just look at it, it's just a stumping at the non-strikers end. You can just consider it that it's just as before the ball is bowled, almost similar kind of a thing.
And it's the whole
And
warning thing, isn't it?
yeah, why do
That's
you have to
the
be
stigma.
warned? Yeah,
Yeah, you shouldn't have to warn.
like I'm warning
I
you,
was
I'm going to
told.
stump you out. Yeah,
Yeah, but I was
that's
told by
weird.
coaches as a
Yeah.
youngster that you have to, people were aware of this in junior cricket when I was playing, and it's quite a high standard and everything, and the coaches would tell you that you have to warn, and we just assumed. I mean, who's going to go and look up the MCC rule book, right? You just go by what you're told. That we were told you have to warn, and that was just the assumption. I don't even think the coaches knew the exact law. They just, assumed that it was the done thing. You warn them once, and then you can do it. And that's not a rule or a law. That's not in the law book about warning. And I've done it before, where I have warned a batter when I was a teenager, and then they did it again, and then I got them out, and everyone was like, "Well, fine, you warned them and stuff." So I was like, this gentleman, whatever. But if I knew that I could just do it without warning them, I would have just done it. Right. And it's not that I would be looking to do this all the time. This was blatant, and some of these things are blatant where they're literally yards down the track. They're almost
Yeah.
run half a run before you've even arrived, and that's just taking the piss. A couple of
One more.
centimeters here and there is,
Yeah.
you could argue about that, but when it's so blatant, and international hundreds are hard to come by, right?
Yeah.
Get it the right way. Get it in the way that you want it. You're in control of that. That's the only dismissal you're in control of as a batter. The only one. Right? Nothing
Yeah.
else is in your control, but that is in your control. Right? You could say, yeah, it's in your control if you get bowled, but good deliveries and whatever. That is fully in the batter's control. You just stay in your crease. You cannot get out that way. But there you go.
And one more thing, it's like if Ashwin and Rohit are playing the test series together, and Ashwin is like, okay, Steve Smith is out of his crease 100 times, is he not going to run him out? Or, so somehow it seems that there's no clarity in this sort of a thing. Obviously, Rohit Sharma, maybe because it's like, I don't want to annoy the people the wrong way, and I want to be the good guy playing cricket and all, who will get into all the controversies, so he's not going to do it. And what if Ashwin is there, and Ashwin, obviously we know his stance on this, and he is going to run out the batter, so will he be forced to withdraw his appeal because the captain is not happy? And then what if the captain changes, and then let's say there's Virat Kohli, and Virat Kohli is in favor of this. So, this is just going to depend on what the captain wishes, and there's not going to be any uniformity going forward. Shami clearly he wouldn't have taken back his appeal if Rohit Sharma had not intervened. So, there has to be some form of uniformity. Even if a team doesn't do it, then why take off his bails in the first place? So, there has to be communication about this, and it'll be interesting to see, if Ashwin would have been in Shami's place, what would he have done? He wouldn't have, if he had taken back his appeal, it would have been frustrating to watch. Yeah.
Or if Shanaka was on 8 rather than 98 and it was a tight game, all these things come into it, right? You can't pick and choose. You either do it or you don't do it. That's it.
Yeah.
As a team. Right, we have spent a bit more time on that than it would, but it always creates debate. I think we've kind of talked about what we've learned. We talked about the batting, we talked about the bowling. Let's talk a little bit about the squads. I mean, the headlines that I'm getting from this, obviously Prithvi Shaw back in the T20I squad for New Zealand. Great. And we've discussed that so many times on this podcast. Wonderful to see, and hopefully he gets some game time and it's a way back into the fold for him. And the other two headlines, really, is that Ishan Kishan and Suryakumar Yadav are in the test squad for the Border Gavaskar Trophy as well, which is exciting. Obviously, Rishabh Pant, look, we're hearing reports that he's going to be out for maybe up to 18 months because of the amount of rehab that he's going to have to go through. And we wish him all the best, of course, but that does leave you with that hole, and they've decided to go down the Ishan Kishan route. KS Bharat is the other wicketkeeper, so we don't know which one's going to play, but Ishan Kishan is the more like-for-like replacement. Left-hander, powerful batter in the middle order, could probably get into the side as a batter alone if he didn't keep wickets. So that's exciting. I don't think Suryakumar Yadav is going to play, but then the other headline, I suppose, from the squads is that there's no place for Sarfaraz Khan as well in the test squad. So those are the big things. I mean, where do you want to start?
Just Sarfaraz, unfortunate for him, but then would there have been a place for him? Yeah, maybe he could have come in place of Suryakumar Yadav. It does seem a case of mixing up formats probably. But then Suryakumar does have a better first class average than and a list A average, which is probably, he could be better in test cricket because of the stats. I've not really seen him bat in first class cricket, so I wouldn't really be able to see. But the videos that I've seen, so he's batted aggressively whenever he's had the chances. He was in the test squad as a standby. He was there when India toured England in 2021 also. Prithvi Shaw and Suryakumar were the two standby players. So maybe he's just, the kind of maybe he'll play one game where they just want someone to score 180 deliveries or something. Like, you never know. Unfortunate for Sarfaraz, but his time will come, just like Prithvi Shaw's, hopefully, and his time will come.
Yeah, maybe. I think he'll get his chance in the next World Test Championship cycle, and maybe they're just seeing this as too much of a pressure situation to bring him in. But just to go through his stats, though, Sarfaraz in red ball cricket since 2019. I'll go through his scores because they're so impressive. And he's not played, obviously, that much first-class cricket. 71 not out, 36, 301, 226, the 25, 78, 177. There was a 6, which is one of just two single-figure scores. A 275, 63, 48, 165, 153, 40, 59 not out, 134, 45. Then there was that 5. What was he doing there? 126 not out, 75, 20, 162. So there's only like 3 or 4 failures in the whole thing. I mean, he's just an absolute run machine. Is there a concern that with the new directives from the BCCI about yo-yo tests and fitness and all that, is that a serious concern? Because he's not passing any yo-yo tests anytime soon.
Apparently, he said that he passes the yo-yo test without which he won't play
really?
in the IPL. That's what he said.
Okay.
There was an interview of his which came out today, Indian Express, I think. So he said that he has passed yo-yo test and that's not an issue. And he was heartbroken when he wasn't selected, obviously. But then, just wait his chances. Prithvi Shaw, we've been clamoring for his inclusions for the longest time. Finally, he gets a look in, and at first glance, I didn't even figure out that he's in the squad. His name was second last or something in the squad BCCI announced. Another quick thing about the squads is Hardik Pandya unofficially India's new T20I captain. We know BCCI is not going to make an official announcement because of all the we can't have two skippers and all that mess which had between Kohli and Rohit Sharma. So is he India's new white ball captain? T20I captain.
T20s, you'd think so.
Yeah.
And it'd be the sensible thing to do, really. Rohit doesn't need it. KL isn't playing well enough to be a T20I player at the moment. So yeah, he's the natural choice, and the boys seem to enjoy playing under him. It didn't go all to plan against Sri Lanka, but they're building something, and it's exciting, and I think the future looks pretty good under Hardik Pandya. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if he carries on doing it in the long term, and if he does for another few series, you've got to say that he's going to be the man to lead them into the next World Cup, particularly with Rohit concentrating on this year's 50-over World Cup. He's not going to play much T20, so and he may never play again, which is fine by most people, I think. He's getting on a bit, just concentrate on the other formats and do it that way. But we'll wait and see. Right, I think we've discussed quite a bit on today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed it. Of course, we've got the New Zealand series coming up. We've got the Border Gavaskar Trophy coming up. I'll be out in India covering that as well. So excited, looking forward to that. The visa has come through, Sarah. You'll be pleased to know. These things can take some time. Mine was done within 6 days.
Wow.
Usually takes. Some of my colleagues had appointments before me. They're still waiting 2 weeks on. So I don't know if it's because they're Australian and I'm not, or if that's got anything to do with it. But I've got the visa. I'm ready to go. Tickets are booked. Everything's booked. Accreditation process is ongoing at the moment. That should be fine. And I tell you what, if Kohli gets 100 in the first
Double
test there,
100.
maybe you could buy me a cake.
Double 100.
Double 100. Buy me a cake.
Yeah, I will. Definitely.
with his name on it.
Kohli the GOAT.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next time.